conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so conference is now recorded. And so this screen and everything I'm showing now will be on a Blackboard, will be on a YouTube video. That will be up, later today, tonight sometime. I'll put this up. So this problem will show there. There are 13 journal entries. The first journal entry is we invested $10,000 into the business. So everybody, so just make a note of that. If you can't see it, the first journal entry is that we invested $10,000 in the business. That's kind of how we always start the problems to make sure you can do that journal entry. So given that we've invested $10,000 into the business, the first thing that we're going to do is to go to our journal entry types. Just get rid of this. And for next time, the problem is there, so there should not be any issue of anybody. The problem is in Blackboard. You see what group you're in. You know what 5 you got. Select the one you want and work it for that part of it. Okay, whenever cash comes into the business, we're always on the first journal entry. We issued common stock. Our system says we debit cash and we credit common stock. That's what we're doing. We debit cash and we credit common stock. Okay, so once we determine the type, that we debit cash and we credit common stock, we're going to go to the chart of accounts and get the specific journal accounts with the number. So we look at that chart of accounts. If everybody's looking at the chart of accounts, cash is 100, common stock is 400. So cash and common stock are the accounts that we're dealing with. Now we want to make a journal entry. So everyone, please get to a journal entry sheet. Get to a journal entry sheet, if you would. And I'm going to clear out the sheet that I have so we can start making these journal entries.
Professor,
Yes.
is the spreadsheet, is this a journal entry sheet? The spreadsheet right here?
Spreadsheet is too. This is just in Word, but you can I would prefer that you use the Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
I'm thinking. Yes, go ahead.
What was the type? Was it the type 1 for the first one? The
Type
first
1.
Type 1? Okay.
So the type is 1. What do we debit in a type 1?
Cash, right?
Debit cash. What do we credit in a type 1?
Common stock. Yeah.
Gonna credit common stock.
Common stock.
What is the account number for cash?
100.
100. That's memorized. What's the account number for common stock?
400.
And what was the amount?
10,000.
Now, I don't care how I'm teaching or what I use. This is how you make a journal entry. And most students coming out of Principles 1 cannot make a journal entry. I taught some at 11 o'clock this morning. I'll be teaching some after this class is over. They cannot make this journal entry. Is there anybody in this class who cannot make this journal entry? So when I give you a quiz next class period, you're going to be able to make this journal entry, correct?
Yes.
Um,
You're going to be able to make the journal entry, Parker?
I can't see anything, but
Oh, no,
I
but we talk and you're supposed to be writing it down.
am writing. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I told you earlier on. Like I understand everything about it. I just cannot see
Tell
what
me
you're
what
saying.
you wrote down. Tell me what you wrote down.
Okay, so you said invested the 10,000. That's a type one. I wrote it's a type one. The
Mm-hmm.
debit the cash, credit the common stock,
Mm-hmm.
and then I know that the cash 100 and the common stock is 400, and the money invested was 10,000. That's the only thing I know is the information and what to put down. But on here, I don't know where it,
The
what to
10,000
do
is
with
in
it.
the debit column for cash.
The 10,000
You
is
go
in
in
the
the
what column?
debit,
Okay,
and for
on
common
the
stock,
first row, right?
yep. Then the common stock
Okay.
is in the credit column. Did I not put these journal entries, some journal entries examples in Blackboard for you all? You all
I don't
made it. You all made it. Did anybody see the journal entry examples and the extra sheets that I put in Blackboard, babe? I didn't get it there. Did anybody see it?
Yes, I can see it.
People
Yes,
saw it.
they're
That's
there.
one. Is that the one
what
Professor, they
spreadsheet? Is that an
Professor,
example?
they are there, but when you click on them, it gives you an error message because I do believe it says 2021. And when you click on them, it doesn't come up.
So that's why I asked you to, when that's the problem, email me because I think I sent them to you, correct?
Yes, yes,
Could,
you sent them all to me via email.
could
can
you
you
open
send them
them up?
to me?
Could you open them up once I sent them?
Yes, sir, I could.
Okay. So anybody, when you need something, if you have trouble with Blackboard, just email me and I'll send it to you. So if you need something today and you couldn't get it in Blackboard, then email it. So you see, there's no perfect system. That's Blackboard, the normal system that we work with. And yet people are saying they can't go in Blackboard and open it up. Okay. That's the first journal entry. I expect everybody to be able to
Professor, are you
make that.
referring to the links that you have?
Pardon? Okay. So let's just try to finish these journal entries today.
Are you referring to those links that's posted in Blackboard? Because I'm just trying to make sure.
No, there are actually items that were posted. All right. Well, yeah, you go to, we're now on the accounting cycle. So that's course content. So you should be in course content. So if you go to course content, that's where these items are. Okay, received a $40,000 working capital loan. That's our second transaction. So just write that down if you don't see it. But you should have a copy of this problem, and it's in the primer. Received a $40,000 working capital loan. Okay, we're going to go to our types. What type is receiving a $40,000 working capital loan? What is our type?
5.
Everybody says that's a fine. What do you debit and fine?
Cash.
Debit cash.
Type two. Type two.
What are we saying? Simply on transaction two, where we borrowed money, and what are we going to credit?
Notes payable.
We're going to credit notes payable. And What's the account number for cash? You should have that memorized.
100.
What's the account number for note payable? This should be a short-term note payable. So what's
306.
what was our amount?
40,000.
20,000.
That's the journal entry. So what's our process? We read the journal entry. Then we go to the types to see what type it is. After we go to the types, we go to the chart of accounts to get the exact names and numbers for those accounts. And we put it in the journal entry. As cash is coming in, cash is debited. We sign
I've
up
got a
for
question, Dr.
payable
Boyd.
for 20,000. Yes.
So on number 2, the account that we're using is I'm sorry, what account were we using?
306, short-term note payable.
306. So on the example that you sent on one of those questions, it's kind of the same, it goes along the same lines, but it's using account number 307 because it's an accrued liability
It may
because
have,
it's a loan. So is it the same
that
or
number may be off because sometimes it changes on the chart of accounts that I've used. But if you got this name in either 306 or 307, it'll be okay.
okay. Okay.
So don't worry about the numbering per se. Sometimes that's changed.
Okay.
Let's go to the third transaction. And what do we do in this third transaction?
It's transaction 7.
We purchase supplies on account for $10,000. We purchase supplies on account for $10,000. Now, when we go to our types, we didn't pay any cash. So we cannot be in 7 through 11. You have an asset transaction other than cash.
12.
It's going to be 12. So our type is 12. We purchase an asset utilizing debt. We're going to debit the asset purchase and credit the liability created. That's what we're going to do. What asset did we purchase? Supplies, 130.
Supply.
And what did we credit? Accounts payable. That's
Liability.
we created on account payable 301. So 130 and 301 are our account. We said this was a type what?
12.
Well,
So we're going to debit supplies for what?
the 10,000, wait, was it 10,000?
It
Oh,
was
130.
$10,000. And we're going to credit account payable for $10,000. So a lot of times people say, okay, people can do journal entries and they pass over them. And what I found was that by the time I got to midterm, I asked, we are doing journal entries and some of the other steps. People had problems with the journal entry. So I put more time on it. And how much time do you have to make a journal entry?
2 minutes.
You got 2 minutes to make your journal entry. So we got 1, 2, 3 down. Let's go on to the next one. We paid cash of $2,000 for a 1-year insurance policy. So you're supposed to have your journal entry typed. You to make copies of that. What type is number 4?
Income received in advance.
It
Right.
said you paid cash.
So 8.
Oh, I'm thinking I'm looking for
A
transaction
9,
types. I'm sorry. Um,
type 9,
Oh, yeah, type.
maybe.
Okay.
what is it two?
But
What is
because
it two?
it's a 1-year insurance policy, because you have an
Um,
asset you bought.
Oh,
You paid cash for it. So you purchase an asset paying cash. It's
so
a
7.
it's
type,
seven. Seven.
the type 7. And this prepaid insurance 131. So we have a type 7 because the insurance, it'll eventually become an expense, but when you first buy it, it's an asset. So we're going to debit prepaid insurance, and we're going to credit cash in. So now hopefully you're seeing why we do 40 of them. We do it so that you definitely know how to make journal entries. So if you've gone through, participated in the working of 40 these, the preliminary ones, and then 40 journal entries, then you should know how to make journal entries in that time frame, 2 minutes. Are there any questions on the first 4 journal entries?
Mm, I
Are
don't know
there
about
any
this one.
questions on the first 4 journal entries? Can everybody make those first 4 journal entries since we'll have a practice quiz on next class period? Can everybody make those journal entries?
Yes.
Professor, I'm not gonna lie, I am really confused
Okay, why are you confused?
because, well, I just don't understand how the charts are going. Like, I see how you're getting the like accounts and stuff, but I don't know, the charts are just confusing me.
Okay, let's
And I
go
think
back.
it's because like I'm looking at the Excel chart and it looks different from that chart that you're using, so that's what's confusing me.
Think whether you're using Excel or Word, that won't be an issue. We're just in it today. We'll be in Excel on that chart on Thursday. We read the transaction and then we see if cash came in. It's a 1 or a 6. If we paid cash out, it's a 7 through 11. Then we have transactions other than cash, and we're only dealing with 2: purchase of an asset utilizing debt and sales on account. Once you determine the type, it's telling you what account to debit, what account to credit. It's telling you that. And then we said that you got to come into this chart of accounts and get the name of the exact thing that's purchased and what was utilized to purchase it in this case. So you got to get at least 2 accounts off of here, one to be debited and one to be credited. And so what you need to do, go back over these that we're working now and look at what we're doing. Go over the YouTube tape, go back over it, and continue to practice uh, till you get that down, till you get it down. But everybody said they could make journal entry 1. Is there anybody who can't make this first journal entry? Is that confusing, the first journal entry? Okay, so we got 1 down. Let's look at number 5. we are purchasing, our company is purchasing 5 automobiles for $20,000 each, paying $25,000 down and signing a note for the balance. So we purchased 5 automobiles for $20,000 each. We paid $25,000 down and signed a note for the balance. So what's happening here?
Is that type 7?
Okay, we bought 5 automobiles. So let's look at this. We got a car rental business and we buy 5 automobiles.
So
Ain't
we
that
borrowing
So are we
what?
using
We buy 5 automobiles and they cost what?
20,000
20.
each.
So how much
1,000,
did you pay for the cars? Well, how much did you
1,000
buy
or
as a car?
100,000?
Right.
1,000,
100,000.
$100,000. How much did you pay down?
25,000.
25,000.
25,000.
20.
Then what did you do for the balance?
It's a debt, so you're gonna pay on it. So is it note?
75,000 on an account.
So when you buy long-term assets, they most times want you to sign what? A note. So this is going to be that long-term bill.
It's gonna be what you said?
You just sign a note. If you buy a car and you make a down payment, they
Mhm.
don't let you just walk out of there. They make you sign a note for whatever is owed. What's the account number for automobiles?
210,
210,
210.
What's the account number for cash?
100,
100,
100.
Account number for note payable is long-term now,
350.
350.
350.
50.
So two things happen here. First of all, we have a type 7 because we paid 25,000 down for cars. But then we also have what? A type what?
12.
A type 12 because we signed a note. So two things happen here. We bought the automobiles, we paid cash as a down payment, type 7, and we paid the note payable 75,000, type 12. Are there any questions on that transaction?
Mm-mm.
Notice
I
what?
know the note payable was 350. What was the other number? Was the 100 cash?
Yeah, 100 for cash, 210 for automobiles. So automobiles is 210, cash is 100, note payable is 350.
Accountant.
Note payable because it's formalized. When you buy a long-term asset and it's gonna last more than a year, you gotta pay on it longer than a year. It's just like a student loan. They make you do what?
Pay on?
They make you sign for it, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
So they have stronger evidence to collect on it. And if on a car you don't pay and you sign a note, they're gonna do what? Come back and take the car. That's why they got you signing a note, and that's gonna be in the fine print that if you don't pay, they're gonna come take it. So we have automobiles, 100,000 debits. Notice the credits are equal. When you have more than 2 accounts, the debits have to equal the credits. You could have 10 accounts. What's in the debit side has got to equal what's in the credit side. Any questions on that one? Does everybody have it? All right.
Mm.
Paid advertising expense $8,000. Paid advertising expense $8,000. What is our type?
Is that type 9?
It's a type 9. We're paying the advertising expense, which is debited. That's what we're going to debit. What are we going to credit? What are you crediting? What happened to your cash account when you pay your rent at the beginning of the month in February? What's going on in your cash account?
Receivable.
Debited.
Oh, so when you pay your rent, your cash account goes up.
No.
Oh, it goes down.
Yeah.
Receivable.
So if you're running a business, you're going to credit cash. What is the account number for advertising expense? Go ahead.
611.
611. What's the account for cash?
100.
Wow.
Should have that memorized. And what was the amount?
8,000.
So by this time next week, everybody in here will be an expert on making journal entries. Everybody's going to be an expert.
Awesome.
Yes. Who's that? Nick? Who's that? Houston, Texas fan saying no. Cash received for car loan revenue. How much is that? What's our type?
2,
What is it?
2,
All right.
Type 2.
Like,
What are we going to debit?
cash,
Type 2, we debiting cash. What we going to credit?
sales,
Revenue.
Debit cash.
or revenue.
Sales, revenue, they're all the same. What's the account number for cash?
100.
What's the account number for sales?
500.
500. Amount was what?
150,000.
I take your word for 150,000. You all are getting smarter by the minute.
Yeah, right.
Smarter by the minute. All right. You all tell me 8. Tell me 8. What happened in 8?
We paid the rent.
Go on, keep talking. What's my type?
Transaction 9.
It's
It's
type
9.
9. What we going to debit?
Rent expense,
For account 651.
Okay. What we going to credit?
Cash.
cash,
Account 100.
What was our amount?
30,000.
So you'll notice that these journal entries will begin to repeat. They're going to begin to repeat, different accounts, but another type 9.
I'm sorry, what did we debit?
We debited rent expense and we
20%.
credited cash. 651 and 100 for 30,000, type 9. Well, see, one thing, Park, if you ever go blind, you won't have any problems. You know how to work without sight. So there's always, positive thing there.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Car loan revenue earned from corporate customers on account. That is, they didn't pay us, and it was $100,000. What is my type?
15,
That's going to be a 15. What we're going to debit?
accounts receivable, which is 110,
Everything accounts receivable. what you gonna credit?
Sales, which is 500.
So we're gonna credit sales. So we have 110, 500. What was our amount?
100,000.
Okay. What's our next one? What happened to number 10? We paid on accounts payable $5,000. We paid on accounts payable $5,000. So Parker, what's our type?
Hold on. Um,
Is that
oh,
high?
ain't it out of 7 through 11? Right?
It's got to be 7 through 11.
Okay, so I'm on the right track.
Yep, you're
Okay.
on the right track.
So it's gonna be 9. Is it 9?
No, we're not paying an expense. That's not.
What did it say? Paid accounts payable?
Yep, that's a liability. So what type is it?
Oh, 8.
It's going to be an 8. So our type is 8. So we're paying out cash. So we're going to debit the account payable.
Hmm.
We're going to credit cash. So account payable is what number?
301.
Cash is what number?
100.
And what was our amount?
5,000.
So our next journal entry. Collection of cash from corporate customers. What's our type?
3.
That's going to be a type 3. So what do we debit in a type 3?
Cash.
Cash.
What do we credit?
Cash.
Accounts receivable.
Accounts receivable.
So we're going to debit cash, type 3. We're going to debit cash. And what are we going to credit? We've already recognized the sale here. So what are we crediting? Always keep that in mind. What are we crediting?
Accounts receivable.
Accounts receivable. We're not crediting sales. We're crediting accounts receivable. Cash is 100. Accounts receivable is 110. And our amount was how much?
50,000.
Okay. So notice the link between a 15 and a 3. You can't have a 3 unless you've had a 15. You can't collect if you didn't do the work. So we always are going to have the 15, then that's followed by 3. But when you do the 3, make sure you credit account receivable, not sales. And I'm probably saying that based on experience. What's our next one? Eight dividends. What's our type? What is
10.
a dividend?
Type
That's
10.
a type. What's a dividend?
Like taxes.
No. If you
Oh,
own
stock.
stock, If you own stock in a company, like we invested uh, into the company, we're paid dividends on our investment when the company is doing well. You can't get your money back. You buy stock is in the company. The company can pay you dividends. So we're going to debit dividends. What's the account number for dividends?
455.
We're crediting what?
Cash.
What was our amount?
5,000.
All right, 5,000. We only got one more to do. And let me indicate this. All of those 40 journal entries is going to be one of what we just did. Okay. So you just got to figure out which. So it doesn't change from anything we've done so far. You got to figure out which one it is. Paid 3,000 principal plus 1,000 entries on the note payable. We need an A student to answer this one. Paid 3,000 principal plus 1,000 entries on the note payable. What's principal? If you got a student loan, what they want you to pay back? They want you to pay back the note. But when you pay back the student loan, what else do they want?
The interest.
They want the interest too. So you got to pay back not only what you borrow, your student loan, but interest. So that'll be interest expense. What's the account number for note payable?
350.
What's the account number for interest expense? Well, have you chart of accounts? What's the account number for interest?
680.
680. Can you pull your spreadsheet up? The bottom is cut off.
Okay. How's that? You okay now? We're just here.
Yes, now I can.
Okay. So how much we gonna debit note? What we gonna credit first next? What we gonna credit? Cash. How much we gonna credit cash for?
Is that 4,000?
That sounds like a good number. Because the note payable was what?
3.
And the interest is what?
1,000.
So the bank's gonna want 4,000. It's not gonna want 3. It's gonna want 4,000. So you can't go to the bank and say, "Well, I just borrowed 3,000 or put this over here somewhere." You add these two together. Now, all 40 of the journal entries is some combination of what we just looked at. We just do 40, so you have the practice of doing it. But those 40 is some combination of what we just looked at. So you simply got to go and determine the type, put in the specific accounts and the dollar amounts. So
So,
that's what
Professor,
I'm doing.
what is the 4,000? What is it considered cash that we're crediting?
Yep, when you pay your student loan, they're gonna want you to pay cash. When you pay your student loan back, they're gonna want you to pay that principal, what you borrowed, and the extra amount interest, and they're gonna want 4,000. They're not gonna want 3. They're not gonna want 2. They want you to pay 4,000.
So we need all 3 lines for this entry.
Yep.
Okay.
You can have three
Well,
lines. You can have 3 lines now, can't you, blind lady? So hopefully we're gonna work this out. Turn to your case, but when we get back to campus, and I'm hoping I'll get a clearance soon, but maybe a little while. But hopefully we'll get back to campus. When we get back to campus, you still got to have a computer. Okay.
what?
Yep. I want you to have a computer in the classroom. You do your homework, you take your exams, all of that will be with a computer. So that doesn't change. I mean, what we're tasked with doing is training you to deal in the new world we deal in, which is going to be virtual. Nobody is going to hire you to sit down and write stuff down. Okay. That's gone. And so your education is better if you can think and operate in a virtual world. That's just the world we got now. If we keep using natural gas, we're going to have some other issues. There's a big glacier that's broken off from the Antarctic. So when storms come, more and more water, there are consequences. So you can't just sit back and say, okay, I want things to go like this. I wish they could. So if you work with this, if you can get these journal entries done, and then you'll be okay. If you can learn how to make journal entries, you can do everything else. If you can learn how to make journal entries, you will pass the course. If you can learn how to make journal entries, you can pass the course. All you got to be able to do, because the other things will come easy. Making the journal entries is the most difficult thing. And so next week, well, Thursday, excuse me, we'll be working with the first 2 to 3 groups to get their journal entries down. Then we work with the next group. You will have a journal entry practice quiz next time, so I can see how you're coming. I don't need to wait for the real quiz to come to see how you coming. Then on the following Tuesday, we'll finish up the number of journal entries we're doing, and you'll have an attendance quiz. The attendance quiz is just bonus. That's those extra points that I give. That's on Tuesday. Then the following Thursday, you'll have your first real quiz, 20 points, on making journal entries. So you got plenty of journal entries to work with. You got all of these. This will be on YouTube. You can see all of this. You got the 40 journal entries. And you get all of that made, then you should be able to make journal entries, the 10 or 12 or 15 I asked you on the quiz. Because you would have over practiced. So we're over practicing so you can take 2 minutes to make a journal entry. Are there any questions?